So to start off, I just want to get a bit of a feel for the room. Who uses AWS like in the last week? Yep, most people. Who's used AWS from the command line? This week? Awesome. Okay, cool. Then you're my target audience. There's someone at the back waving. Okay. All right. So basically, a few years ago, I was working at realestate.com.au. I was doing lots of AWS stuff, which was really fun. I'd been using it for a few years. And I'm somebody who traditionally has been on Mac or Linux, has been mostly working with the web browser and the command line. I'd SSH into remote machines. I like to be able to use Vim, use the same tools on all the machines that I connect to, use basic stuff that's going to be available all the time, like notebook and paper and operating system that's going to be the same, bash, whatever else. I'm not a big fan of learning some proprietary bit of software. Like one that I hate at the moment is PagerDuty. I really don't like it. And there's a thing I found last week. Somebody put in a pull request for my project Bashma AWS, and I looked at his GitHub profile and he said, just say no to ClickOps. And I'm like, oh, ClickOps, I know what that means from the word, but I need to go and read. And somebody else had written, ClickOps is when people think they're doing DevOps, but actually they're just using a bunch of enterprise proprietary point-and-click website, like expensive bits of software, and they're just clicking around on that. You don't really have the power, and it doesn't really make you feel great. So a few years ago, I was feeling a bit bad and a little bit just like something wasn't right when I was clicking around on the Amazon Web Console. And Amazon Web Console is great for discovering things, and it gives easy access to explore when you don't know what's there. But using it, when I found myself copying and pasting from a web page into another web page, it reminded me of people that copy and paste from one spreadsheet into another. And I just thought, oh, this feels wrong. So for things, it also felt slow. And it also meant grabbing the mouse, and then I've got to aim and click, and you know, my wrist is not what it used to be. I've got arthritis, it doesn't really move. I get pain in my hand, and you've only got a certain number of million keystrokes in your fingers before they're not going to work anymore. So reducing that kind of thing and being able to work comfortably matters to me. And also, I don't have a great memory. So the AWS CLI, I looked at using that, and there were very, very long commands that you could type which would give you exactly what you like. And the AWS CLI is freaking brilliant. Really love it. I don't know, hands up if you've heard of JamesPath. So JamesPath is JQ. It's like XPath for JSON, but there's a specification. It's been implemented in all good languages. It came out of the AWS CLI team, and it's an example of a team that's working on something that says something's missing. We're going to make it. It's public specification. It's open source implementation. It's really great. So there's so much in AWS CLI. I didn't want to be one of those people. Don't be that guy who goes and re-implements something because you don't quite like the interface. I found that just writing some bash aliases around these long commands that I couldn't remember to start with was helping me with, say, CloudFormation stacks. So I'll just log into an AWS account I created earlier today. And I've got to press my little YubiKey. No. Okay. So my little YubiKey is great, except if I if I suspend the computer, I need to type in the little passphrase. There we go. Touch it. I love touching it. So it'll decrypt my GPG encrypted file, but I have to touch it to do it. So it means that someone who's hacked me with DNS spoofing on the free Wi-Fi or something else, it's harder than to get me to press that button. So I've logged into my Bashma AWS account, and I'll run stacks, and I'll keep making it bigger and smaller. So Bashma AWS basically is 4 years old. It's really mature. It's freaking cool. It's really, really powerful, and I'll show you some of the stuff now. I'll start off just by showing what I'd do if I go into an account and want to navigate around. So I was thinking maybe I could get somebody to drop the AWS creds for an account into Pastebin, my GPG keys on github.com. But then I thought, nah, I'll just create an account because I don't know that anyone will want to do that, will trust me, and will have a read-only account they can set up quick enough. So I'll list the stacks in an account, and generally where I work, everything is in a CloudFormation stack. So stacks is a table of contents. When I list stacks, they're ordered by the date created. So the newest ones are at the bottom, and that's usually the one I care about if I've just created a stack. Let me open my little guide. So I'll list stacks, and I'll pick one of these to pick on. So we've got the last one, dogs. That looks interesting. So I'll have a look at, say, stack resources, dogs. And it's going off the edge. Okay. It's still going off the edge. Oh, that's the screen's fault. So stack resources dogs, there's an EC2 instance there, and it's listing the instance ID. So I might then go, okay, the general pattern with Bashma AWS is you can list stacks, you can list instances. This is going to, I'll just show you what it looks like when you've got your normal terminal. So you can have things full width, and I'll zoom in a bit. No, I won't. It's too terrible. So basically, the first thing that you see when you list any type of resource with Bashma AWS, the first column is the resource identifier. And what that means is these are instances, and I can go, I'll get the same thing out if I say stack instances dogs. I'll get the same format where it'll list the instances. So I can pipe that output into any command that acts on instances. So here I've got stack instances dogs, and I'll pipe the output into any of these commands. Any of stack instances dogs into instance. Okay, so we've got instance stop, instance tags, instance terminate, which is fun when you pipe all your instances into instance terminate, instance stack if you want to find out what stack it was in, which we already know. But I could go instance SSH, and then I'll need to so it's then looked up the details, it's looked up the IP address and the name of the SSH key pair that it needs to connect. It assumes that the SSH key pair is called the same thing in your .ssh directory, and it will look up the public IP if it has one, and it'll try and SSH. If things go wrong with Bashma AWS, because each command is just wrapping AWS CLI or SSH or SSH keygen, you'll see the error from that come through. So it's just wrapping the tools. If you want to see how it's working, instance, just run type, and it's just a bash function that is setting a bunch of things and then running SSH down the bottom. So you can see how it works. You can dump it out to a file and change it if you want. It's accessible. You don't need to go through 5 levels of Ruby classes that somebody has written to be very hard to read but very easy to test. The functions don't tend to depend on anything else in general. So instance SSH, and it told us we needed to log in as, what's it called? As EC2 user. Yep, and we're logged in. Now, I'd rather not log in and go to look at log files if I can avoid it. A cheaper way to find out what's going on is just to go instance console to get your console logs. And we can have a look through at why it didn't boot up or why I couldn't SSH. Also, if I go, let's see, I'll see if I've got any ASGs. Yeah, I do. So I can pipe that into ASG stack to find out what stack it's in. And I've got my auto-scaling example stack, which has an ASG in it. So if I wanted to log into, or just say I want to look at the ASG, I'd go stack ASGs, and there's autocomplete on the remote stack names as well. Stack ASGs auto-scaling example, it's the same auto-scaling group we saw. We can now go ASG capacity. Common thing is if you want to scale something up so you can log into the instance. There's currently, this says minimum, current, and maximum, I think. And told you I didn't have a great memory, so I can look at the function. It's just an AWS CLI command. So we can see here we've got min size, desired capacity, max size. If you don't like it, change it in your fork. Or learn to live with my rules. So we've got ASG capacity. We maybe want to set desired size to, what was it before? 1. Might set it to 2. And when we list our instances, we're seeing all the instances in this region. All right, so has anyone got any questions? Too fast? Anyone excited? Yeah, cool. Hey, give me another beer. All right, so another thing I do, like I work at realestate.com.au and I'm an old fart who has been doing this for a long time and cares about it a lot and finds it interesting. And I say that this is basically for infrastructure jockeys. It should be like a DJ. DJ who has to go to the cupboard and get out a tape and fast forward it to a certain part. Some people can do that, but really you want to be able to put some vinyl on, put the headphones on, get it ready, boom into the next thing. So you should be able to jump into an account when you don't know anything about what's going on and somebody who knows slightly more than you has come to you and they're like, can you help? And none of us can fix it. So you should be able to log into an account and go, right, what have you got here? You can look at the resources quickly. And then you can go, all right, so your dog's thing's not working. I will do the auto-scaling example. So say I don't have anything. I got nothing in this folder. We'll go the auto-scaling example. So I want to look at the template to see what they've got. That'll pull down the template. I'll stick it into a file, .yaml. And the other thing that I want to pull back is the parameters. Right, so let's have a look at the parameters. And they go, oh yeah, so we deleted this key. So what can we do? Like, how do we fix it? And I go, all right, well, we'll stick another key in. We'll call it demo. For, can I have a word so I can prove that we didn't prepare this earlier? Cat. Demo cat. Thank you. I have never met you before. So I actually did a word list last night and created keys with every sort of animal. So we'll go, I want to create a key pair. So how would I do that? Key pair. See, I'll forget. So key pairs will list the key pairs, and we've got 1. So key pair key pair create, and what do we call it? Demo cat. Okay, and we'll do no passphrase. Dimitri's going to be very unhappy about this, but just for the demo. And we can just go stack update auto scaling example. Boom. Is that really going to work? That's amazing. So, but wait, I've not seen this thing before. I've just sat at the thing. How do I update auto scaling example? I save the file as autoscalingexample.yaml, and I save the other one as autoscalingexample params.json. So you can look at the source for how it does that. It just checks if there's a file called the same thing.json. And oh, but if I didn't have, I can't always afford to have Dimitri on hand, so I can also just go stack failure for the auto scaling example, and it'll show me, well, it won't. Stack event. Well, stack events will just be what we tailed because it's running stack tail. So what I will do is just trust Dimitri and go move autoscaling example.yaml. Oh yeah, that's params. Params.yaml to autoscaling example params.json and edit it. Yes, that looks good. And update it. I can also give the name of the template and the name of the params. I've started putting params in a folder directory called params, just to keep it a bit clearer, especially when we have things for Route 53 and there's lots, or ACMs and there's lots. So I haven't updated this to go look in the params dir, maybe sometime, but okay, stack failure. Oh, I forgot to acknowledge the demo gods at the start. They're angry. So, all right, so key pairs, we have democat, vi, auto scaling example, params.json. It is democat, so maybe it's just not working because of that. How embarrassing. Autoscaling example.yaml, autoscaling example params.json. Sorry? Yeah, I think it didn't find the params because there was 2 hyphens in there, and so always easier to not use the magic. So now we should have a new key, and if we go instances, so we can say stack ASGs, auto scaling example, and then go ASG instances to list the instances. And so there's one shutting down, one starting, and then we can go instance SSH, but we get a bit annoyed. I get a bit annoyed with that. So there's a little convenience thing, stack ASG instances, auto scaling, and instance SSH EC2 user. I am disgusted by this guy's ineptitude. I am leaving. All right, and so we're in. We're in. Come back. And we used our new key, probably. If we go instance SSH details, you can see the details of what it was going to do, because you may just want to construct your own query, and that's the old key. Instances, instance SSH details. All right, so keys, they're all using instance. So So we'll go stack, ASG. This is when I get Incredible Hulk, and go auto-scaling example, instance, terminate. There's a little warning, you're going to terminate this guy, kill it, and then another one should start up. So we'll pretend that worked, and I might be able to SSH in when the new one spins up using the right key. And so yeah, we've got key pairs, ASGs. Oh yeah, so another thing, before I thought, what if someone says, can you do one in Europe? There's a few convenience functions that you'll find, like, what are the regions? I'll make this bigger. So the regions does a query to Amazon to get the regions back. I might want to set the region to US, East, 1. Why is there no complete on that? And then go key pairs. I've got one. And I might decide, but we've lost all of these keys, so we need to create some more. So I could go region each key pair create, and it'll just run whatever command you give. So I could go region each AWS S3 LS. So you might go, I don't want to use your stinking tool, I don't trust it, it didn't work before. But you can use region each with any command. You can have a script that you wrote, or you can use AWS CLI or whatever. I don't have any S3 buckets, so it's not going to be very good. So I can go region each, keep ES. Region each stacks. It'll run your command. It'll append to each line of output, if there's some output, the region. So it'll have hash and then the region name at the end. So you can filter that out from your output, or just from looking. It's really useful when you have a script and then you go, right, how do I run this? Or you just don't, right? It's all in Sydney and US East 1, so I don't know. There's Bitcoin mining in the other regions for all I know, and we wish we could turn them off, but we can't. So we've got create failed over here, so we'll go stack delete on go region US East 1, and stack delete docs failover. Yes. So I can also go region each key pair create. Stack delete, you can watch it finish. Yes. And then it gives you the error at the end saying the stack doesn't exist. I'd rather just finish with the tool that we're wrapping, giving you the error to say it doesn't exist, because it gives you that message. And I don't need to capture in my code the message that they're giving and hope that they don't change it. So it's pretty resilient to change. In 4 years, I haven't had any changes to AWS CLI that's broken anything. Any breakages has been me. So 7 o'clock. So one thing I can do, region each, key pair, create, key pair, create. Oh yeah. So the default key pair will be the AWS account alias hyphen the region. So if I give it a different name, which will be demo giraffe, which is a terrible name, probably want to quote what I'm passing through. So region each. And then demo giraffe already exists. How can it already exist? Oh, of course, yeah, that's why you've got to put your region in. Yeah. How would I do that? Ooh. Would this work? I can get it to execute it. I can get it to go. Yeah? Is that going to work? That would be cool. Yeah, okay. No, it's just done it from the first thing. All right, ignore that. So the keep stuff I wrote today in preparation for the talk, because I thought, how can I explain SSHing in if I don't have a tool for doing the keep pair, and I didn't want to do it manually. So keep pair's new. ADD. Any questions? I'm glad you asked. So before the last presentation I did, I added multi-account. So there's a function in there called AWS Panopticon, and the thing is, I've only set up one account to demo, so I can't really do it. But if I go, oh no, I could, no I can't. What I'd normally demo is I'd list instances, sorry, list accounts. So the first, remember that when we go say instances, the first thing that you see, terrible region, AP, South, East, cool. So if I go instances, I've got a thing that I use at work which is accounts, and accounts is available to everyone that lists all the accounts the company has. And the first item is the account ID, and after that is the account alias and which team's responsible for it and stuff. So I just say accounts, grep, my team, I get 5 accounts, and I pipe that into AWS Panopticon. AWS Panopticon is like region each, but it runs across the accounts. So it will assume a role in that account. We have a read-only role. And then it will run whatever you have. So I've got a script in our CI that just runs every lunchtime, and it goes through all of the accounts that my area is responsible for, and it'll say all accounts, all regions, list all stacks. So we go stacks, stack, tag, cost code, grep minus v, cost code, and that will tell me all the stacks that don't have a cost code. So here we're listing it. So what I could do is go grep minus v, cost code, that lists them all, and I can go stack, tag, apply, cost code, demo, and that will go and apply cost code tag to each of the stacks that don't have one. And that's a really cool one because that's a lot of clicky, especially if you want to do it across all accounts, across all regions. You're going to break, the battery in your mouse is going to go flat. And now, did it actually work? We'll go, let's just go that, and yep, so we've got cost codes. So there's things like, you can list stacks, but then just go stack -tab tab and you can see the commands that are there. With autoscaling example dot blah, I might decide that the name of the thing shouldn't be the stack name, it should be stack name demo. And then I'll go, what's going to change if I update that? So autoscaling example .yaml, autoscaling example params, and I'll get a diff. Now, you can do change sets, and 5 minutes. You can do change sets. I haven't really found change sets as easy for me to read as a diff. It seems to tell me a long story, which I'm guilty of, but I don't like it when others do it. So, I don't know. I need to learn to read change sets better. I know they can help protect you against somebody else getting in with the change. But the reason I had this is, if I go into Git and I find a CloudFormation stack for an IAM role, and I want to add a permission to it, how do I know that somebody hasn't checked it into Git? And this one's not in CI, like it's an IAM role, or it's some little thing, not everything has a build. How do I know that someone hasn't checked into Git but they haven't pushed it? And I'm going to be pushing their change when I push that template change. Or how do I know that someone didn't push a change and not check it into Git, and I'm going to wipe it and something's going to break? So this will compare the CloudFormation template that I've got with what's actually in the stack. And then if I like it, then I can just do the same command but stack update. And it'll go and do it. So that's probably all for now. Now that I've created an account, I'll probably do a screencast. I've been a bit hamstrung because I can't use all the work data and stuff for doing it. Has anyone got any other questions? Nope. Yep. How can I stop using it? Oh yeah, how can I start using it? So, very good question. So, if you search for bash my AWS, if you use bash, if you don't use bash, then you can actually use it by typing bash, and then you've got bash. We've got people who use Z shell and they go, this doesn't work with Z shell. Make it work with Z shell. And I just go, sure, send a pull request, like fix it. Only one person ever has fixed anything with the Z shell thing. So if people want it, cool, but I don't use Z shell, so I'm not going to be a very good, I'm not going to be a very good advocate for it. And bash is available everywhere. If you search for bash my AWS, it comes up, it's on GitHub, it's free and open source, yes, I'm big in it. So, it's got, someone starred it. Did someone star it? I watch this makes me smile. Not many things make me smile. I have a very, very limited life. But yeah, so tell all your friends to star it, sign up your mum for GitHub, get them to star it. I reckon that I think people generally only like star about 1/10 of their repos that they like, so there's probably 2,000 people. So that's good, but I've got no fucking idea how many people are using it. And to install it, you just do git clone. And most people will go, oh, but I don't want to clone it into tilde.bashmyaws. Just do it. I assume you've done it. And you don't have to do it, but then these lines won't work. So then you source the files, because they're bash functions, and then you source the bash completion, which you have to do, because then you get bash completion. It's one of the things AWS CLI lacked. The documentation is relatively shit, but the application is simple to read, and you can go tab and see the functions, look at the source of them. There's small things around AWS CLI commands, so I think it's pretty easy to learn. But once you get into the Bash My universe, I've also been working on Bash My Spotify, so you can do playlists. It will list the playlists. You can go playlists and then grep out the songs or whatever you want, dump them into another playlist, create them like we did with the stack. Also bash my GitHub Enterprise, so I'll list teams, get the users out of those teams. I can pipe that into another command that goes and adds them to something or gives them access or whatever else. So this model of having a line of information and then you can pipe that in and act on it based on the first column. I don't know if anyone's seen that before, but it's really, really cool. And so I think a bit of possible renaissance of the command line. And people have said that it looks like PowerShell, a bit like PowerShell. So that's a good thing. It's bringing people together. All right,
cool.
That's it.
Thanks, Mike.